Well, who's on first?
Yeah.
Go ahead and talk. Who? The guy on first.
Who?
The guy playing first base.
Who?
The guy on first.
Who is on first?
What are you asking me for? I'm asking you.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to this episode of Who is on First, or Who's on First. Fawn corrected me last time I said it wrong. Thank you guys so much for listening. I am Tim Ellebrick, and that is Brian Kaplinger, and Michael is not here. He's been banished because we're representing. No, I'm just kidding. Apparently he's been sick and lost his voice, so we don't have to talk about the Cubs today, which is nice.
Well, honestly, I think we should.
Yeah, to take the time to bash as much as we can.
That's right, and then not feel bad about it.
I didn't get my PCA shirt in time, so. But anyway, how are you doing, man? It's Monday when we're taping. It'll be out on Tuesday, but how are you enjoying your Memorial Day so far?
Yeah, it's good, and I mean, you said it. It's Memorial Day, so first off, just want to say thank you to all those who are currently serving, have served. It's just an honor to be able to do what we do because of their sacrifice and their willingness to just commit their lives to a cause greater than themselves. And so just really appreciate that. And yeah, going to have the whole cookout deal, how us Americans always celebrate holidays, right, with food. So that's what we're going to do a little bit later, but a good time, and looking forward to catching some good baseball games today.
Absolutely. We've got to wrap this up shortly because we've got a Cardinals game. But yeah, first, obviously, this is Memorial Day, so thank you so much for to the families of those who had somebody that sacrificed. It is a privilege and an honor, and we're super, super grateful and thankful. But let's jump into baseball because that's what anybody would be here to listen to. So
that's right.
First and foremost, it's Memorial Day weekend, so we're just going to kind of talk about and pick something from the week, like any story or anything weird. This season has been nothing but the weirdest thing that anybody has ever seen, We thought the Dodgers were going to win, and we thought they were going to lose and never win again, and now they're just winning like crazy. In the Central, we thought the Brewers were just going to fall apart, and now they're destroying everybody. So, Brian, give me something from this week that stuck out to you that, something weird or just something you've paid attention to that really stuck out.
I mean, really for me, you said it. I think, the Brewers, and we talk about it in our text thread all the time, right? Back and forth. Like, we think they're going to fall apart and they're going to come unglued, and then they do what they do. Mm-hmm. And here they are leading the division, looking like world beaters. I mean, looking like they're poised to meet the Dodgers and the NLCS once again. And I say that on a day that the Cardinals are going to start a 3-game series against them. So I'm a little nervous for our team here on that side. But I think the biggest thing for me, and again, I know we make light of it and joke about the Cubs, but is just this 8-game losing streak. I mean, they've lost or been swept in consecutive series. And I think the worst one, and I joked with you right before we started recording that I was going to wear my Astros hat just to mess with Michael because I didn't think there was a team, that could get swept by the Astros, and let alone it be Chicago. Like, I mean, it looked like they're right before this losing streak, they had figured things out. I mean, I think the only team that has had 2 10-plus win streaks on the season, and then now – here we go. Yeah, it's like, here we go. Now they're almost losing 10 straight. We'll see what they do when they host they're going to Pittsburgh starting today. So we'll see what they do there. But, that's been, I think the biggest shock to me. And, I mean, I understand their starting pitching is hurting right now. Obviously when you lose Cabrera, you still don't have Steele. Boyd's been out. I mean, the list goes on and on. Horton not able to pitch for them. I get that there's that struggle, but I think for me, it's really just been the inconsistency of the offense. When I looked at it at the beginning of the season, I thought the offense was going to be there. I mean, we thought Bush was going to have this breakout season for the Cubs. That has yet to really come to fruition. I mean, he's shown flashes where he can still be Michael Bush. And I'm hoping that he waits until June to really start being Michael Bush because we have to see him before then. So, but it's just like it's really fascinating to me because you talk about like PCA and everybody knows, and we can laugh and joke. But when he had his interaction with the fan there in Chicago, obviously that's a heated rivalry. Those things happen. But I think it stems and it speaks to the frustration that he has as well. Because if things are going well, those things just kind of slide off. Don't bother you at all. But when you're not having a good year, people start making those comments, and, man, they get under your skin, and you're trying to prove something, and all of a sudden you clap back. And it's not the worst thing in the world. I mean, I don't think PCA is like this horrible human being, because I've been in that position as a center fielder before, and you hear the noise from fans and all that stuff. And so, sometimes you make statements and you're like, oh man, I know I should have eaten those words, but they already came out now. So, but I think really for me, it's just like, I don't know what the Cubs are going to do. And I know it's maybe a little too early to start talking about the trade deadline, but the only valuable pieces they have are their prospects. Because if they're all in, like, they've got it. I mean, they've paid in order to be all in. I mean, you've got Bregman for another 5 years. Like, this is, this is your time. And so I'm starting to get concerned because, like, they're going to have to move, their young center fielder. They're going to have to look at moving someone like Matt Shaw in order to get the pieces they need, I think, to compete. Otherwise, they may find themselves not only just being out on the playoffs, but or out on the Central. They might be out on the playoffs as a whole. And I think that's what's been the biggest surprise to me because, again, Carson Kelly, your best hitter, is not boding well if you're a Chicago Cubs fan. Like, there's some other players you want there. And if Ian Happ is your power leader, again, there's problems offensively there. And so I don't know what's going on with that offense. Council's been there long enough now. You would think that things would have shifted, but they're not. I wonder if there's some contention there. I wonder if, like, things don't progress, if Council's going to be out, by the end of the year, and they're going to have to look to reset in some other ways.
Yeah, there's a lot to that. I mean, we had a discussion, I guess probably in some texts last week about the deadline overall, and it is interesting because the more I think about it, with that much injury, how much is it worth to try and just correct it, to just maybe make it? Because on paper, if everybody's healthy, that's a pretty fierce team, but you never know when your injuries are going to come back and in what state they're going to be in. And how much is it worth to offset that with some rentals? Like we use Scooble as an example, and he's going to cost a lot. And is that worth it? All that capital, that prospect capital, really worth it for maybe getting close? And so it is an interesting thing. I mean, the wild card standings don't mean anything right now, but them being in third place, I think they are out of the wild card picture. They are right in there, and they're a half game ahead of the Diamondbacks and a game behind the Cardinals. So, I mean, the wild card doesn't really mean anything right now. There's so much time left. But you mentioned the streaks they're on, those two-time 10-game winning streaks. One of them's been canceled out for sure. We talked a lot about last year before how the Cardinals were really, really in it, and then they just fell apart June to July, and they couldn't overcome that bad fall-off. And you can certainly lose ground in that case. And it is an interesting thing with, you mentioned Council being there and Bregman coming, and how Bregman's supposed to be some sort of clubhouse whisperer.
Right.
And he is struggling, which I don't really pay much mind to that, because a trend that I've noticed is, big-time free agents first year on new teams tend to not go well. Like Juan Soto last year started off for a couple months pretty terrible.
Right.
And he ended up in the MVP, race or MVP voting. So I don't pay much attention to Bregman's stats per se. he has gone from. It is interesting to think about. He's gone from 2 ballparks that are the best hitting ballparks for right-handers into Wrigley, which is the wild west of like wind and ball movement. But it is interesting. Yeah, I don't know what to make of it. I feel bad because we're asking questions and Michael's gone, but I would assume he probably doesn't know what to make of it either.
Yeah, that's my thing, and I think maybe that's why I wanted to bring it up today too. Not again because I'd love to hear Michael chime in, and maybe next week when he's back, we can talk a little bit more about it. But it's fascinating to me because you bring up your young prospect in Alcantara.
Yeah,
and
bench him.
Yeah, and then he's not playing. You have Suzuki who is struggling. I mean, there's just no way around it. And I know sometimes you want to play those veterans to get them out of it, but you've got Matt Shaw who's, again, sitting on the bench, who was showing promise at the plate and as a fielder. In right field, he was handling that right field for the Cubs very well. I mean, Conforto's been maybe the biggest surprise, the positive surprise for them. As far as his play, nobody really expected that, but I mean, he is producing and performing. The question I guess I would have in that is how long can that really last? I mean, when does he go back to being what we've seen over the past little bit? But again, you've got nowhere to go because, again, nobody's really taking some of your veterans to help you get better. You're going to have to look at those pieces. And like you said, if you're going to play in the realm of Skubal or even some of these higher-priced starting pitchers come the deadline, you're giving up a haul for potential, Kyle Tucker-esque type of thing. Because, and that was I think the weird thing is because everybody was chalking it up to, Kyle Tucker just didn't fit this team. He didn't perform well. Other players around him last year seemed to perform well. PCA had probably his best season, at least offensively, with Kyle Tucker there. Now you have Bregman here, and none of these guys who had this big season are having this big season again. And, so I guess that's, again, maybe Michael can weigh in it on the chat or, text us in the comments once he listens. But it's I know there's still time. I'm not ruling the Cubs out of this because they can get hot again, go on another 10-game win streak, and erase this bad performance. But the problem is you're putting yourself in position with teams the likes of Philly who are starting to rebound and get themselves in order, and you're getting stuck in that middle ground where it's not going to be so easy to climb over because now you're not necessarily going to be playing an easy schedule moving forward. Teams have figured themselves out. You will still have some teams that are going to struggle, but now you're going to be playing for your life from now till the end of the season just to get back up. And the reality is right now the Brewers aren't slowing down. And so if you can't figure out a way to kind of at least keep pace with them, the division's going to be out of reach if both the Cardinals and the Cubs aren't careful here because the Brewers are just going to run away with it.
Very much so. We're right under 3 weeks away from Flag Day. Flag Day is the supposed, arbitrary, we know what teams are type of deal. So we're 3 weeks away from seeing what most of these guys are. And so, there's a good point.
And I just said, do we really know what the Cubs are? I mean, we've seen them at their really high, and now we're seeing them at a really low. Are they a team that's in the middle of that? Or are they this team that's just going to go back and forth all season and hope that they get hot at the right time to stay close enough to take, at least a wild card?
Yeah. It's good stuff. So I'm going to go to the other side of the Central in the AL, and I'm going to focus on the Tigers.
Okay.
They are... Man, that's another anomaly to this weird season. Went into the season with them being probably the favorites of the division, I would say, and they just cannot get out of their own way. They're not playing bad baseball. They're just giving up. They're giving away games towards the end. So I'm gonna rattle off a couple things. They're 2-8 in their last 10. They're 5-15 in their last 20, and they're 20th in WRC plus, 25th in runs scored. They're 14th in ERA and 12th in FIP. So they're middle. They're average in maybe like slightly above middle in pitching, and they're below average in hitting. And they're partially just injury riddled. But
Right.
I'm just really curious what's going to happen because there's a lot of free agents on the table at the end of the year for them. And you talk about the deadline with the Cubs, like they have a lot of people that are a lot of guys that could go, that could get them a haul, but at the same time, man, are they even going to be able to get everything? Because Gleyber Torres is a free agent. Justin Verlander, who has yet to even pitch, is a free agent.
Right.
Jack Flaherty, Emmanuel DeJesus, Scooble, Casey Mize, Jake Rogers, and then there's one more I forgot to write down. It's another bat. So there's a lot of players on the table to get something for, and they're at the bottom of the Central right now. Their record is 21-33.
Yeah.
So they're 12 games under 500. Man, that's a tough hill to climb from, especially with the Guardians being crazy.
Yeah, everything we didn't expect them to be.
Right, yeah. So Kevin McGonigal is a stud. Like, he's come up, he's a stud. Riley Green's a stud. They've dealt with injuries, kind of the same with Cubs, not to the gravity of it. But man, that's a team that we had that's done the opposite of what we thought. And I wouldn't say the expectations were insanely high.
No.
But the expectations of the Central weren't high at all. We picked the Royals to be good, and they're terrible too.
Right.
So yeah, I'm really interested to see what that team's going to do at the deadline timetable, because that team's going to have to flip on a dime, and that's going to be really, really hard when your trend is the way it is.
Yeah, I mean, the one good thing I think for Detroit that they have going for them, I mean, obviously, it's not good this season if you're a Tigers fan. Like, you're just going to have to take it on the chin here. But I think they have the ability, because of some of those players that you mentioned, that they could unload those, because they will be high commodities come the trade deadline for other teams, and you're going to be able to reset much quicker than a team like, let's say, the Royals, because the Royals can't unload and in the same sense. And so it's going to take them a little bit longer to reset or figure out what's going on. Whereas Detroit, yeah, it's going to suck to lose Scooble, but the reality is you're probably not getting him back at the end of the year anyway. So at least get something out of him. Some of those other players, what's fascinating to me both about the Royals and the Tigers probably more so than the Royals, because I look at them as probably more veteran-driven. I mean, yes, the Royals have some veterans as far as like Waka and Salvi and those type of players, but they're also more driven to their younger core. Detroit has the more veteran setup other than McGonigal, who is looking like the veteran. But they're 8-21 on the road. Like, they cannot win unless they're at home. That's what's, just so fascinating to me, because a lot of times, these players end up playing better on the road because there's less distractions than when they're normally at home.
Yeah.
And it's just not that way for the Tigers, nor the Royals. Like, the Royals can't get out of their own way when they're on the road as well. And again, it's very uncommon that you see that, but it's just fascinating because, again, you're in the realm and the likes on the AL side of the Angels, and we know who the Angels are. And that's who you're playing like, and that doesn't bode well. So if I'm a Detroit Tiger and I'm sitting in the front office or even as a fan of the Tigers, I'm going, okay, now it is time to go ahead and move on. Like, I love Scooble, and I say, hey, thank you for all that you're doing. But some of these one-year deals or these expiring contracts, I'm going to go out and get some players. Because the thing about the Tigers is they've shown they're not scared to spend some money in the offseason with free agents. So they'll have an opportunity, I think, to retool a little bit and also get a little bit younger in the prospect ranks and maybe build themselves back up a little bit to have some depth, so when these injuries pop up, maybe you don't have to go through this poor style of play.
Yeah, the other thing I wanted to bring up is Framber Valdez. It's been an interesting case for him. He had that one blow-up game where what was that, like 10 or 12 runs or something crazy from Boston? Was it against Boston? I think it was against Boston, right?
I'm pretty sure,
Then hit that guy, and there's a lot of rumors and stuff, in his free agent walk year about, he crossed up as catcher. What is he like in the clubhouse? He went to Detroit, I mean, it had a lot to do with money for sure, but it was also his former manager. You know, you wonder if there was a case of like, yeah, I know how to work with this guy. I can take care of things.
Right.
You know, because I've worked with him before. He's not been bad. He's not been good. He's rocking a 4.2 ERA right now. But, I mean, he's the ace with Skubal being gone. And with Skubal being there, he was supposed to be the number 2. That 10, 12 run game obviously has ballooned that number. So that's why I'm saying, like, he's not been horrible. But it kind of makes you wonder, you know, like, chemistry, all that stuff we talk about all the time. What is that doing, or is that even a thing in that case? And like he is, you know, new free agents, our free agency, new teams, got to learn it, just like we talked about with Bregman. But yeah, that was kind of one of the first things I looked at, was like, what's Framber Valdez doing? And you know, outside of it, it's not horrible, it's not bad by any means. And that one game ballooned a lot of it. But yeah, Tigers are going through it. Detroit fans, you're right though. If they sell off at the deadline, they're still loaded and can reset like that. But replacing Skubal, Casey Mize is going to be gone as well. Replacing Skubal is a tough task.
Yeah, I mean, it's so fascinating because, I mean, again, you look, I mean, obviously Verlander on the edge of his career.
Right.
He's going back for the nostalgia purpose. I mean, he's a competitor. He wants to pitch well. It's just not working out, right?
Yeah.
Flaherty, they keep kind of tagging him and bringing him back, and obviously not putting him as far as like this high leverage pitcher, but he's not having a great year. I mean, they just, outside of Skubal when he was healthy, nobody's living up to their billing. Like we kind of talked about it on the Cubs offensive side. It's really Detroit's pitching, because I'm not going to put it on Detroit's offense, because their offense has been, you know, for most parts, what we thought it was going to be. Like that, they're not bad offensively.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago they were in the top 10.
Right, and so it's really, they cannot find starting pitching to hold them up long enough, and I think, you know, they're going to continue to struggle. And so if I'm the GM, if I'm coaching staff, I'm just biting the bullet on this one and going, hey, this is not going to be our year. What do we have to do to get depth at the starting pitching? Maybe even, you know, pull in some of these prospect pitchers from other teams via some of these trades. And then you're going to have an opportunity in the offseason to sign, you know, that big-time free agent starting pitching, you know, to replace Skubal when he goes somewhere else. And, again, it's not going to be the same. Skubal's been dominant. He's a monster. He's a Cy Young perennial contender. So it's going to be hard to replace that. But if you can get 2 to 3, maybe even 4 guys by offloading some of this that can pick up some of that slack, I mean, think about the depth you've just created on your pitching staff.
Absolutely. It's continuation of the weirdest season in baseball, right?
Absolutely.
All right, let's jump in. We're gonna do some Cardinals talk and Cardinals lore. So I set this up. We're gonna talk about the season so far, but I wanted to focus on 3 different players, 3 different parts of the team, 3 different pieces that you're paying attention to, that we're paying attention to going into the end of May, going into June. What should we expect? What's a good trend? What's a downtrend? So I'm going to start you off first. Give me could be in no order, but give me one of the players or pieces of the team that you're focusing on.
I mean, obviously, and I think the whole MLB is focusing on this young man, and it's Jordan Walker. And it's for all the right reasons. I mean, like this massive resurgence that he's had. I mean, we're talking 15 home runs. We're not even out of May yet. I don't know if, you know, he's ever had 15 home runs by this point ever in his career. And so, you know, to see the power profile that's there, I think what impressed me even in the games in Cincinnati was the fact that he's hitting the ball out of the ballpark. And yes, it's Cincinnati. Okay, I get that. But he's going to right center field. He's going to left center field. He's not pulling everything, and he's not super late on everything going down, you know, the lines. He's in those gaps, which tells me he's in a good place with his swing because he's letting the ball travel deep. He's still hitting it. Probably the biggest thing, and again, if you know baseball, you've seen this. It's not that he is not swinging at every slider. It's the fact that he is not swinging at the sliders that are like 4 feet off the plate. He's no longer just an automatic out by throwing sliders away or sweepers away. Like, you have to come into the zone. And then when pitchers did last year, you mentioned this a lot, he couldn't catch up to the fastball in. This year, that is completely different. You throw him a fastball in, and he's going to hit it 427 feet because he's figured out how to get his hands around. Mm-hmm. And that has been the biggest difference. But I guess maybe why I'm paying attention to it is he hasn't – I mean, he's had some minor slumps, I would say, is I want to see him really kind of hit maybe a challenging run where he isn't seeing the ball really, really well, and see if these mechanics that he has now built himself on stay true. You know, we talk about it. You look at I was watching a game last night, and now the player's name escapes me. Oh, it was Cam Smith in Houston. They were talking about he's having a very poor as far as statistical season, but he's still in the 90th percentile for, you know, hard hit contact, barreling up the ball. He's just not having the luck.
Yeah.
And so, like, I want to see Jordan Walker, and not that I want to see him struggle, but I want to see him go through maybe, you know, a few game stretch where he's still hitting the ball really, really well, but he's not getting the luck and not let it get to him mentally. Because I think that's the next big transition for him in his game is the mental side. Because we know the skill set's there. We saw it in the minor leagues. He struggled coming up, and that, you know, not that I would say it was good for him to struggle. I think the Cardinals aided in the struggle, and that very much so. And so there is a mental fortitude that he already has because he's walked through that. But now I want to see it. Okay, now you're having tremendous success. Mm-hmm. So what's it going to look like when maybe that success doesn't just naturally happen? Because you're hitting the ball hard, but you're hitting it right to the left fielder or right to the center fielder. Can you stay true to those mechanics? Now, I'm hopeful that he will. I mean, this has been my guy since he came up. I told you, I've stuck with him. I almost gave up on him in the offseason. I'll be honest. I did, but I wanted to give him one more year, and the Cardinals did, and so I'm glad. And so I'm excited to see. I mean, hitting above 300, having that power profile, OPS almost of 1,000. I mean, he's at 966. I mean, like, this is what we thought Jordan Walker was going to be. And if this is who he's going to be consistently, man, it changes the whole dynamic of this team. And so that's the guy that I'm watching as far as from the positive perspective.
Well, he was on my list too. I think it can't be ignored. You know, like, this team's been searching for superstars, and the expectations on this kid when he started were super high, and to see, you know, in his 4th year, it finally, like, man, this looks pretty solid. The couple things that I was going to point out is just his slash line from the start of the season to the end to now. So obviously when he started, he came out of the gate just like one of the craziest tears. You know, he had that stretch hitting 5 home runs in a row. I remember that grand slam in Detroit, and it's like, whoa, you know, that was like one of the furthest balls. Yeah, exactly. And to just go back and think about when we were watching him in spring training, we were just like, oh my gosh, this is bad. And they even kind of acknowledged it too, because they were like, yeah, we got to sit him down because he's working in the back in the cages instead of playing in games. And we're just like, oh my gosh, that's not a good sign. And then, you know, flipped on a dime at the end. The thing I was going to point out is, you know, had the crazy tear at the beginning of the season, but he did hit that slump. Towards the end of April.
Yeah, 0 for 30, I think.
Yeah, so I looked at some numbers for that part. So it's like a 12 or 16 game sample size. I forgot to write that part down. But during that, he was hitting like 216, had a 255 slug, like just wasn't doing anything, had a 40% strikeout rate. So that was during, we're going to talk about like end of April, beginning of May territory. When he came out of that, since then, he's been hitting 333, 400 OBP, 679 slug. That's for a 1 OPS, above a 1 OPS. Like, he's better in this post that slump than he was in the season that he started off with. His strikeout rate's gone down. It's like 22 or 23% strikeout rate during post, that slump period. So we talk about, like, what's he going to do when he goes through it? Because every player is going to hit slump. They're going to get adjusted to. They're going to have to figure out how to readjust, or they're having some bad days mentally, and you have to reset. What is that going to look like to make yourself, a little more consistent? How are you going to respond to it? And he's better post that one. It's going to happen again. Every player is going to hit it. So, like, how long is that one going to last? What's that one going to look like? And I mean, you can't be upset. He's leading, I believe. Let me confirm this. I should have had this pulled up, so I apologize for everybody. But I'm pretty sure. Let me go to the National League. Let me go to WRC Plus. Jordan Walker is leading the National League in WRC Plus right now.
Oh, man, it's insane to think, right?
Yep.
I mean, because it was funny. I was watching the game the other day, and this was the game I think they ended up losing in Cincy. And it's like when the announcers are talking about how much of a bad idea it is, to walk Burleson, knowing Jordan Walker's coming up, it's like, man, this has changed, because before it had been like, no, we're going to intentionally walk Burleson to get to Jordan Walker because it was an automatic out or a ground ball.
Absolutely.
At least.
So he's rocking a 25.6 K rate right now, which is, if you think about, what we saw Walker in 24 and 25, it was just like 40% swing and miss over and over and over. And now we're seeing like one of the most disciplined, one of the best power hitters in the game, like the best power hitter in the National League. Schwarber has 20 home runs, so he's got 5 more, but he's still behind Jordan in OPS and WRC Plus by at least 10 points, which is unbelievable.
Right.
That we're talking about this kid like that.
Crazy to think. And he's 23. Like, I mean, like,
just turned.
Yes, just turned 23. Like, I'm back on like the hype bandwagon of this.
You should
like,
be.
It makes me excited. I'm giddy. I'm like, now I'm disappointed that I didn't get the Walker jersey.
I know, right? It does make me think this has nothing to do with, like a talk right now. But this kid's gonna get, if he posts a whole season like this, he's gonna get expensive. So I will be interested to see how the Cardinals respond to that. The whole lockout thing has a lot to do with it. He'll have one season of this in his entire career, so there's not much else to go off of. Like his rookie season is nothing compared to this season.
Yeah, 100%.
So like they're not comparable, they're not usable, but he's gonna get expensive. But all right, let's go to number 2. What's a number 2 for you?
All right, number 2 for me, I'm going to stay on the offensive side for this one. I'll hit pitching here in a moment, but is going to be Nolan Gorman and who he is. I just don't know if there's a place for him on this team. And it's not because I don't like the power profile. It hasn't been there this year. I think his swing and miss is still way too high. He surprised me defensively at third base. Like, he's not a liability at third base. Not that I really had a whole lot of expectation, but I mean, you go from obviously someone like Nolan Arenado, who's Gold Glove. There's going to be a regression at third base no matter who you put there. So I expected that, but he's surprised me with that. I think the biggest concern for me is he's too streaky for a young team like this. And I don't say that in a negative way. It's just, I don't know how well he fits this team, because you're talking about, yes, you have Walker, who's the power, that type of thing, but this team overall is manufacture. I got to manufacture runs, in whatever ways are possible. And right now, for the majority of the season, he's just not doing any of that. And so if that power isn't there from Gorman, I mean, he's sitting at a 353 slug. If that's who he is, I just don't see how they can hold on to him. And especially not bat him in the lineup of where they're batting him. Like, if he was, batting 8th,
right?
Okay, that's one thing. I'll live with it. But that's not what you want from him. And I know, again, this is a runway year for a lot of them. This was the year that I think they were giving Gorman, because he's another one. You talk about looking at extensions or getting to the point where they could get expensive. I felt like Gorman had an opportunity to come out here and increase his payday dramatically, and he's just not doing it. And so for me, I think it's time maybe to consider moving on. You have some viable options coming up that could play third base, that at least like their bat a little bit better in the lineup in comparison to what Gorman has offered. I know it's a big risk because, you could end up sending him, let's say to the Yankees, and he gets, in that short porch and these little lazy fly balls that he hits at Bush now all of a sudden become home runs, and he becomes the player that you were hoping he would be. But I think at this point for me, I'm willing to kind of move him in the hopes of getting something else in return, whether it's a bullpen piece, because Lord knows I'm going to talk about that next, what we need help with there. But I think that's been the biggest disappointment for me. And again, not that I expected him to be close to a 300. I thought he was going to be, a 240 hitter. I just expected him to be probably close to at least double-digit home runs, if not, a little closer, not necessarily 15 like Walker, but maybe that 12 mark by this point. He had proved to be a little bit more streaky last year. I was kind of hoping to see some of that, and you're just not. I don't know what it is. You're just not seeing that power, and I think the lack of his willingness to go the other way, which is the strength of his power. Yeah. If he goes to left center, that seems like when he has his best swing and his best strength, and he just doesn't want to do that. And he's getting beat on the outside pitch up and down. He can't catch up to the high fastball, and pitchers are just blowing it right by him. And it's just really concerning for me because, like, at this point, honestly, and it's going to sound crazy, but put Fermin at third base, let him play third base. At least he's going to make contact. He's going to put the ball in play, and it's at least going to help the team a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, that's an interesting thought. There's a couple things that I think about with that. Just briefly, is like Newbar is going to be available, I think, within the next week. I think he's probably supposed to. I know he's available to come off the 60-day right now, but he's not ready. They have said like his ramp up is still going. So in one hand, to think about, like when Newbar comes back, what's going to happen with that? Like, does that mean Torres goes down? Is that Sagasi? How does that get affected? You bring up an interesting point with, if he's moved, what happens, because Torres is an interesting thought. I mean, in 2 games, he's one of the best hitters in baseball, but obviously it's 2 games. It means nothing. He's accumulated .2 WAR, by the way, in 2 games. That's crazy. But he can play everywhere. He's a good bench bat for me. And you mentioned the great bench. Urias is coming back. There's a lot of potential depth, even at the major league level right now. I wonder if you platoon, Fermin and Torres back and forth.
Yeah.
Or, Urias and Torres and left, or not left, but how does that work? Because when Newbar comes back, he's playing. He's playing left field. And he's most likely going to go in that 5th spot, which means Walker's going to get a little more protection.
Which is going to be nice. I mean, it's needed.
Yeah. Yeah, man, I don't know. That's a good thought. It's a good question. It is someone I'm paying attention to, but it's kind of one of those things, like, he's not terrible that it makes me, like, hate it, but it's not, like, something I'm excited about with the team.
And I think it'll amplify if this team stays in contention.
Yeah.
Because, again, it's not one of those things, like, I know the Cardinals are set on their path. They're not necessarily looking to full sell everything they have, nor are they going to go out and acquire all this talent in the trade. They want to stay competitive, and I think they will try and stay competitive. And someone like Gorman, to me, if he continues on this path, there's going to be a team out there that's going to take a chance on him that you may get a viable or at least an above average bullpen piece. I'm not going to sit out here and tell you you're going to get an elite bullpen piece. Now, if you partner him with some people, maybe you get a little bit better of a return on that.
Yeah.
But him by himself is just going to get you a serviceable bullpen piece. Try and say that fast.
Right. Because, like you said, Lord knows we need it. So my number 2 I'm going to focus on is the starting rotation, but specifically 2 guys. And this is they're for 2 different reasons. So I'm going to mention Liberatore and McGreevy in 2 different ways. So in Liberatore is a case for me that I'm really, really watching because the expectation was he finally got a full year of starting under his belt. Expectation was a next step from him. We wanted we made him the opening day starter. That doesn't necessarily mean he's an ace. We got to look at his profile. And I would say my expectations of him weren't like insanely high. They were manageable, but he's going the opposite direction of getting better. Something that sticks out to me and is like I'm continually going to really, really pay attention to is he cannot get out of the 5th or 6th inning.
Right.
Like, to save his life, 70% of the starts he's getting rocked. So I looked at this. He's got a ERA of 3.2 in innings 1 through 4, and he's got an ERA of 9.4 in innings 5 through 7. So this is a guy that cannot figure hitters out. It's either twofold. He cannot figure hitters out the 3rd time through. He doesn't know what to do, or he loses it. Loses command, strength. He gets fatigued, which they're probably both related for sure. But we've always thought that issue with him, even in the bullpen, which is why he was there for a long time. So is this kid gonna figure this out and like prove that he can stay? Because they're not gonna remove him from the rotation.
No.
It's a year that was declared to be a rebuild, and the expectations have to stay somewhat grounded in the sense of like, yeah, they're playing, they're killing it, they're doing way better than we think we are. And there probably will be a point where expectations have to turn. Like, hey, this team's good. We need to do something with it. But I don't ever picture him unless he's starting to get rocked from the gate. That 1 through 4 inning starts to go down. I don't foresee them getting rid of him, but that part's got to get figured out. And I don't know what that is, man. I remember the last game when he got rocked in the 5th. He's losing his command, so he couldn't get ahead in counts anymore. So he was getting behind, and then hitters were sitting on a pitch, and rest is history for that particular game. The other one in McGreevy is a different issue. He's the one that's obviously getting the deepest,
right?
And he's the one that's most successful. He's rocking a 2.4 ERA right now, which is absurd for the type of pitcher he is. But he's got one of the hardest hit rates in baseball. So he's getting like, I don't know if it's luck or if it's just our defense is really good, but he's getting really good defensive value from his team around him, which is good for him. I mean, he's a ground ball. He's a fly ball pitcher right now, but he's supposed to be a ground ball pitcher right now. But so that's something that's not sustainable. Like you can't go 162 and 30 starts and be the hardest hit rate in baseball and be good. Like over the whole length. So he's got to figure out how to get players from barreling so much. He's a contact-oriented pitcher. We're not expecting strikeouts out of him, but man, we got to see more. We got to see less hard hit rate for him to stay successful. Because honestly, I think that type of profile from him is sustainable in the game. Like I don't think it's like we got to have swing and miss no matter what. I think that's sustainable, especially on a team that defense is a big value around here. But he's got to figure out how to get rid of that hard contact. His fastball is in the 6% for velocity, so it's just going to get trucked. So it's those are the 2 things with the pitching staff, in particular the rotation, that I'm paying attention to. Because if those guys can't be successful, we can't expect much from Leahy. Man, he's been a reliever his whole life, and he's learning how to start. So like the expectations in those games of like he's probably going to get rocked as he's figuring it out. May is honestly been pretty decently solid, but those 2 in McGreevy and Libby, if we can't get good starts from them long term, this team's not. We can't expect our offense to 6-7 run every game to win games over 162.
No, I agree, and I think that's why you saw even Bryson Mounts getting promoted, was supposed to pitch yesterday. Obviously, stays up. We talked a little bit. He's going to be in the bullpen. He'll probably get a start at some point here in the near future. I love that you talked about starting pitching. It wasn't going to be my focus, but like I did have those 2 guys pegged as well. And And I think some of the disservice maybe to Libby is simply this, is we put him in the ace role, and it's very apparent he's not an ace-style pitcher.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, that's, and again, everybody knew that coming in. That's not a surprise. I don't think, he made some big strides last year, which was great. We wanted to give him this chance. I think some of the byproduct, too, is like you said, we've got all these pitchers outside of right now, as crazy as it's going to sound, McGreevy and Palante, that are, not really going deep into games. Like, even May, as good as he is, when he starts getting to that third time through the lineup, that's when he's had his problems. And because our bullpen, which kind of leads me into my third part there, has been absolutely Jekyll and Hyde. Some games it looks like they have figured it out and they're great, and then all of a sudden it's like nobody's figured out anything outside of a few key pieces. Graceffo's been really, really good, for this team in 27 innings pitched. Obviously, Soriano, I think, has been that tremendous savior of a signing in the offseason for the bullpen on that side. Outside of those two guys, we knew we were going to have to shuffle players a little bit from the minor leagues, but nothing is sticking. I mean, Savanson hasn't been what he was last year, and we were going to be dependent on him this year. I mean, he was supposed to be one of those guys. And I think if some of the bullpen would have settled things down, you wouldn't be so concerned about someone like Matthew Liberatore, because you could send him out there for 5, possibly 6 innings, depending on how it looked, and go, okay, that's it. He's done. The third time the lineup's coming through, we're out on him, and we got someone like Savanson and Soriano to pick up those 2 innings, and then all of a sudden you find yourself in position for JoJo or O'Brien, to come in and kind of shut it down. And if you're doing that once every 5 days-ish, your bullpen's fine because you can build in rest. The problem is that there's too many consecutive days where our starting pitching can't get us deep into the game.
Yeah.
And then we burn through our bullpens, and we've got people like Schuster and Pushard and all of those guys that, like, we have to pitch them because the other guys are gassed. Like, they need their rest. And we know as soon as they come in, they're going to get the first batter, they're going to walk the second batter, and then the third batter is going to hit a 2-run home run. It's like, I mean, it's how it works.
Yeah.
And I think, I'm really, really interested to see what they do. Obviously there was high hopes for like Hunter Dobbins when he was coming back. Obviously that didn't kind of pan out. Fitz got hurt, and I think, they hit some of their strides. But I really think the biggest challenge is you've got pitchers like Savanson and Brule who you've brought in. Stanek seems to have settled himself somewhat as of late, but all these guys it's this Jekyll and Hyde. They could come in and they look really, really good for a couple hitters, but then they're forcing Ollie to make these quick decisions. Like, you get your 3 guys. Do I stick with you, or are you going to come back out and just get blown up? And I don't know if that's the other hitters get a chance to view more tape between innings or whatever it is, type of deal. And it's like they come out for that extra inning and it all goes to hell. I mean, it just doesn't make sense to me. And so I guess my question you don't want to rush pitching, but we do have a lot of relief pitching in the minor leagues. It's like at some point we have to start shifting some guys in and out. I mean, we saw Fernandez come up. He actually looked good. Again, Cincinnati, I understand they're not necessarily the greatest team right now, but it's like he looked pretty good for us in his appearances. So when is he going to get a legitimate shot to come back in and maybe stabilize this? I'm not excited about him because I know who he is, but at least it's a fresh arm.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot there. Brule is the key number 1 for me, and this whole thing is like he's got 22.2 innings so far, and it's just
him
as
and
bad
Stanek
as
both.
Savanson. Yeah,
right.
Him and Savanson are in the same category to me of just like you expect more, they're going to get rocked, but The only other lefty we got is Romero, and he has to be protected in the sense of, like, you can really tell when he gets fatigued, when he gets thrown too much. They obviously don't care about Brule's arm the same, but it's not going to keep you in game. So it's,
Right.
But at the same time, you can't blame Ollie for it because he's only got the pitchers that he's got to put out there. It is. I am going to pay attention to Mounts because he's a starter and he's stretched to be a starter. So you expect when he's going to throw more innings. There is a trend in baseball, and Milwaukee does this quite a lot, of where they have their starting pitching and they have their longmans, and they have a lot more longmans than used to. Like, I think Ashby is one of their relievers who's got the best. He's got the best record as a reliever in baseball right now because he's pitching multiples back to back. Same with I think it's DL Hall from where'd that kid come from?
He was in Baltimore when he
Yeah.
started, and then he spent some time in Milwaukee. Yeah.
Yeah, when he comes out, he's going to throw 2 to 3 every time. Same with Ashby. That is a trend that's coming up. Like, I kind of wonder if that's where Liberatore ends in his career, of just, if he can never figure out the third time through, then he's going to become a long man and the reliever. Those guys might become more valuable, in the game.
So I got a question for you. You got Mounts up today. Do you potentially see that today with Liberatore? Let him go through the lineup twice if he's as long as he's looking good, and then let Bryson come in. They're both lefties. I mean, that's the only. Sometimes you want to play the matchup, but they're both lefties.
So I do know Mounts was supposed to start yesterday, so he's on his rotation turn from Memphis. So he can't. He has to pitch soon, or he's going to have to come into the game today or tomorrow. They can't let his arm just not be used. So that is a really good point. If I was to put money on it, I'd probably say yes. I would also say, though, like, they're in the mode of, like, Libby's got to figure out how to get third through. So when in that turn is like, he goes out for the fifth, he gets hard hit by 2. All right, swap it out. Or is it like, no, he's got to figure out how to get through this. Okay, no, it's he's given up 4 runs in 4 innings. We gotta change it out. So I would say yes. But when would be the question, are they going to continue to try and develop Libby, or are they going to give him success and, bring Mounts in earlier? But that's a good question. That's a good point. That is a trend that is going up for sure. More long men to protect, because we're facing, this is Monday we're recording this, we're facing the Miz.
Yeah.
He just went 7 innings, so it's not like, he used to be a 5 and dive kind of guy. So I'm curious, is he going to continue that trend of innings, or is it, it's going to die off? But yeah, then that's a good question. You make a good point.
Yeah,
I don't want to cut you off. Did you want to finish?
No. I was just saying, like, it's fascinating to me that obviously the rain out changes things, because he was going to start.
Yeah.
And we were going to get a good look. I just wonder if they want to still give Libby maybe another opportunity to rest, but continue his pitching, right? And now if he's cruising, obviously let him cruise. But if he gets to that third time through the lineup, whenever it is in the game, if he starts to struggle again, I think Ollie's going to be quick to say, hey, let's bring in Bryson here. Get a good look at him. Let him potentially go, like you said, that 2 or 3 innings and see where we're at. Because it at least allows him to kind of pitch through it, stay on his schedule. Because, again, I think we're going to see him start before he's sent back down. Like, he's going to get an opportunity to start a game. I just don't know when that is.
Be interesting to see when that happens. So for my third and final, I'm going to go with I'm going to do a soft mention of J.J. Weatherholt. I'm paying attention to him because he's definitely slumping, and it has been for a little bit. But he's very productive in the sense of he's still slumping. His contact rate is not what I thought we expected. Had a good series against Pittsburgh. He seems to be the pirate killer on the team, which makes sense because that's where he's from. But outside of that, he's been pretty cold for the last week. But he's still finding ways to be effective. He's really good at getting on base. The amount of times he's going to get a full count is pretty absurd.
Yeah.
But the main thing I'm going to bring up is the bottom of the lineup. Just the 5 through 9 guys. You kind of mentioned it with Nolan Gorman. But, our 1 through 4 are all rocking. Weatherholt's at a 120, and everybody is a 140 and above. Burleson, Herrera, Walker, they're all 140 and above, with Walker being a 176, which is just looking at that number and it being bold is just crazy. But the rest of the 5 through 9 is all below 100. Nolan Gorman is at 92. Mason Wynn's at 90 WRC plus, and once you get from there, it gets really, really substantially low. So I'm really paying attention to that. Victor Scott had a really good couple of games and good against Cincinnati. Had one game where he went 3 for 4, stolen base. Next game he had really good at bats. Never got on base, but they were really good competitive bats. He hit hard hit balls in every. Had like 90 plus mile an hour hits, which you take from a kid, from someone like that. But man, Pedro Pajes is pretty bad. Prieto has yet to. He might never get a hit in his life. Sagaci's obviously he's rocking a 19 WRC plus. Man, that is
it's pretty rough.
That is awful. So I'm really paying attention to that 5 because this offense is very much being carried by the 1 through 4, and we are rocking. I think we're sitting at like 5.7 runs per game, which is insane for pretty much 1 through 4 of your lineup doing most of it. If these kids at the bottom can find ways to get on base for the top, it will make this offense even better. But, proof's in the pudding. I think Torres is going to be a really big deal.
Yeah.
Newbar coming back is going to be a really big deal. Like we talked about, going to add some protection for Walker. We assume he's going to go in the 5-hole. That would make the most sense. But they've got to find a way to get these kids to be more productive. They're not going to make many switches. Sagaci's probably going to be the one that goes down. Fermin's probably going to be the one that stays on the bench. Prieto probably stays on the bench. Pozo stays on the bench. They've got to find a way for them to get more productive. And what happens when Newbar comes back? Who is the one guy that's getting swapped out for him? Because they do, one thing I just remembered, Newbar's on the 60, so they have to make a 40-man move as well.
Right.
So someone's literally got to go for it. So that's what I'm paying attention to is the 5 through 9 man. What are they going to do to help these guys in the 1 through 4 to get on base for them?
Yeah, and I agree with you. I think Victor Scott is probably the biggest one there, not because I don't think he's going to be on the team. I think whether or not he's going to have the opportunity to continue to start in center field. Like, that's going to be the biggest. Because, again, if Torres continues to hit, and 2 games is not enough, he's going to play. Now, can he be versatile? Absolutely. He can play a lot of spots. I don't know how he projects in center field, so I'm not going to necessarily say he's the one that's going to take the center field spot per se. But, I mean, Church was, playing Gold Glove level defense, and his bat was playing a little bit better than Scott's before he went out. And there was questions of whether or not Church was going to take over that center field spot when Newt came back anyway. So I think it only puts more pressure on VS2. As long as he continues to do what he did in this Cincinnati series, I think he'll be fine. I'd like to see him slap the ball a little bit more. Some of that is a product. Yes, I know teams are pitching him in. They're throwing him a lot of breaking balls, those type of things to get him to swing. Yeah. And you're naturally going to pull those more than you're going to go the other way. If you can get – go ahead.
No, I was going to say that the first Cincinnati game when he got a single off of a changeup the opposite way, I'd never been more proud of my life.
Right.
It was like he couldn't hit that pitch to save his life for like a year.
Yeah, and that's my only thing with him. Like if I'd see a willingness to try and go that way a little bit more, I think because of his speed, it gives him an opportunity. I'm not concerned with his speed and his stolen bases not being what they are because, again, they're product number one of not being on base as much. But even here recently, the times he's been on base, his run has been so valued. Like, they needed that run. They didn't want it to get thrown out. And so, I understand maybe some of the hesitancy we've seen from him on the base paths right now. It's not because he doesn't want to run. I think it's just the game situation isn't allowing him necessarily to take off as frequently as he wants to.
You could also say his confidence is probably lower. The first week, the opening day, he got 2 stolen bases, 3 stolen bases in one game, and we were like, oh, he's going to get 100 easy, and then hadn't got on base for 2 weeks straight.
Right.
And he's been thrown out quite a bit, so you can tell his confidence and his question, thinking too much a little bit is there. again, because of the expectations and what the season is, there's no reason to say that, he's got to be careful because he's going to lose a spot. He's going to lose starting time.
Yes.
If that would be the case. But, yeah, I mean, I'm still a really big fan of his. I can see the problems, and his aggressiveness is what, his aggression on the base paths is a big deal to his game. But he's got to get there consistently, too. And I honestly, I've never met the kid. I would think as a human, that is part of it, too, because it's like, man, I'm getting on base like twice a week, and I can't get thrown out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'm sure that pressure's there. You're absolutely right. Like, the last thing you want to do is, hey, I haven't gotten on base. Now I get on base, and then I'm going to get thrown out and not be on base immediately after.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, sure, those thoughts are in your head 100%. But I think you overcome that by just going out and being aggressive, like you talked about. Just go for it. Like, at the end of the day, yes, we're in a position nobody anticipated the Cardinals to be in, as far as in the standings, in the wild card hunt. In that regard, I mean, heck, they're in the division hunt. They have a good series against Milwaukee. We could be talking about them leading the division. That's how crazy it is.
They're a game and a half.
Yeah. So, I mean, they sweep, and I'm not saying they will. That's not my prediction. But they do, and they've got the lead. They've got the outright lead in the Central, which would be crazy. Don't think it's going to happen, okay? So hear that. Everybody listening, I'm not on record saying they're going to sweep. I'm just saying if it happens, it could. And so, but I think for him, again, I think you're right. He's not going anywhere. He's going to get his at-bats. He's going to get playing time because if nothing else, he's going to be a defensive substitution towards the end of games. And they're going to give him spot starts. Like, he's going to start. It just won't be as consistent as it is right now if he doesn't start to show an ability to get on base a little bit more. And so, again, but you're 100% right. Going back to the original, 5 through 9 has got to change in some capacity. And it's not necessarily, I'm not looking at batting average. I'm not looking, for these grand numbers out of 5 through 9. I want to see more on base, more productive at bats, meaning they're moving runners over or, they're at least seeing pitches. Like you said, with JJ, the biggest commodity he's offered even in his slump is the fact that he's seeing 8 to 9 pitches in at bat regardless. And some of those lower guys, they need to start working at that. Not all of them. Again, I don't expect Pozo to be or Pajes to be an 8-9 pitch at bat guy, but I want to see him make a little bit more contact. Or when there's a guy on first, let's not just default and ground it to shortstop or second base every time.
Yeah.
Because it's a double play.
Yeah. The last thing I want to mention before we move on is Pedro Pajes in that part. His at bats have gotten worse and worse. He'll run into a home run every once in a while, but you can definitely tell his plate approach and his at bats aren't the greatest. And there is very, very much someone waiting to replace him.
100%.
So I'm really, really curious what this office is going to do because Jimmy Crooks has done what they've asked him to do. His strikeout rate went from 30% plus to now in the low 20s in the month of May. So he's very much adjusted and worked on the thing that they've definitely asked him. And he's supposed to be like his first tool was his defense as he was coming up in the system. And he's still hitting over a 1 dot down there. So there is a kid that's ready to take his place. They are very, very high on Pajes' preparation with pitching. So rocking that boat could mean the rotation takes a step back too. But at the same time, can you do that? And do we even know if it even would, right? How can Crooks not figure that part out, in the slap? But then the big key is if Pajes gets replaced and Crooks comes up, what are they going to do with him? Because he's pointless in AAA. He's going to take at bats from Bernal. He's not a prospect anymore. He's had time. He's had a lot of service time added to him already. So is that like, hey, we need to move this guy at the deadline so Crooks can come up, or it's like, hey, we can't wait anymore, so we need to do something with this guy? That'll be the last thing.
Yeah, no, and there's a lot of validity to that. Maybe my pushback on Crooks, not he should be up. On the pitching side of things is most of these guys that are pitching now, he's caught. Like, they've been in the minors with him. So it's like it's not an unfamiliar game to him.
Yeah.
Now, there will be some transition for him 100% coming up because obviously Libby's been up here a lot longer. You know, even McGreevy's been here. But he's caught these guys. He was up at the end of last year with these guys.
Yeah.
So it's not foreign to him. And I think, you know, again, I understand the Cardinals not wanting to rush it. But we're talking about a guy who's already been around the professionals, you know, the MLB. He's been with these pitching. Some of these guys I think we're going to see in the second half of the season, like with Quinn Matthews and some of these other guys that are going to start to come up and get these spot starts. It's probably going to be more beneficial for Crooks to be up with them because he has been the one with them and familiar. So I think it is a matter of timing. Honestly, if it were me, and I'm not Bloom, so I don't know what he's thinking, but if it were me, when I go to make the move with Gorman, who's a left-handed bat, Crooks is going to be the one that comes up, and Pajes is going to find his way out because then you're not losing a left-handed bat in the lineup. It stays, but you're also getting a catcher that obviously the defensive profile is there, and he's doing everything plus more that you could ask offensively. Like you said, he's cut his strikeouts down. And even in the midst of cutting the strikeouts down, his power's still there. He's still hitting the ball. So I think it's only a matter of time until we see him. I think it's one of those things we probably will have to wait till mid-June before we see him. But we're going to see him. I know.
Yeah. The other thing I could add to it is he could also be a DH for Herrera's catching days too. If his bat, you know, stays what we're seeing right now, that's a good left-handed hitter because our DH numbers are atrocious.
Right.
Gorman doesn't hit well when he DHs, so it's like we need a DH when Herrera catches. So that gives you a left-handed DH bat for those days.
Yeah, good call.
All right, we're gonna wrap it up. So. Obviously, we're recording on Monday before that game, so we don't know what the prediction is going to be like. But when it comes out, it's going to be set. I just want to talk about the upcoming rest of the Milwaukee series and the Cubs series, and maybe we can predict, you know, what it's going to look like. Is there one thing when the Cubs come in town that you're excited to see or looking forward to?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the fan base, right? Because it's electric again. Like, fans are here; they're loving being at Busch, all of that fun stuff. And so now you've got the hated rivalry coming into town legitimately. And so, like, I want to see how much fun that's going to be. Like, that is going to be such a blast. But I think even more than that, you know, Ollie and the team as a whole has said they're feeding off the energy from the fan base. So I want to see, like, and again, I know they're all humans and they probably have relationships and friendships outside of the ballpark, but I want to see that heated, like, disdain. Like, I don't like you right now because you're in my home park and you are the mortal enemy, you know, at this point coming in. Like, I want to see that on the field. You know, like, I want to see what we saw in Boston from Wilson Contreras, you know, running through the catcher a little bit, you know, causing a little bit of stir. Not because I want to see people get injured, but it's this should matter. And if you're going to come out here half-hearted and lackadaisical in a series like that, especially when you're playing well, that's going to give me pause. Like, are you really in it? Again, I'm not saying go out there and be jerks and be mean, you know, to players, things like that. Like, I'm not saying slide into second with your cleats up. You know, let's not be dirty.
No.
But let's play with passion. I mean, obviously, I want to see it against the Brewers as well because now the Cubs and the Brewers, at least on paper to this point, are your biggest competition for the Central. And if you can't get excited about these next two series, not only as a fan but as a player, then I don't know if you should really be a part of this team.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to specifically Sunday night's game. I'm not going to be. I'm out of town, so I'm not making it to. Couldn't make it to any of the games. But it was announced that Albert Pujols is going to become a commentator for the game.
That'll be fun.
That game is on Sunday night in NBC.
Yep.
So Jason Benetti, who is already just a killer play-by-play announcer, but AP is AP's going to be in the broadcast booth for that game, and I'm really excited about that. Like, that's going to be super, super, super cool. Last thing is, it is very well known that how many hitters on the Cubs are like Cardinals killers. Like Michael Bush's numbers, PCA's numbers.
Right.
Now, albeit PCA against Miles Michaelis is what is pretty absurd, but against the Cardinals, Ian Happ's another one. Like, there are some insane Cardinals killers. I would like to see someone on the Cardinals become a Cubs killer and like well known as it. I feel like the last one we probably had was Carpenter. That just knows, like, when you look at this guy and he's going to play this team, he's going to destroy this team offensively. Mason Wynn's probably our best one. He's hitting pretty well against him, but he's not a power threat by any means.
Right.
So I would like to see one of these kids emerge as like, oh man, this team, I hate this team. I'm going to destroy them. Very much like Weatherhold against Pittsburgh. Is right now.
Hey, look, I'm all for it. Let it be Jordan Walker and Torres. Torres, hey, make your mark, brother. If you're going to be up here and playing against the Cubs, make your mark and just become hated by the Cub fan base. I'm with it.
Yeah. Any predictions for the week for them? So 2 games. We'll not count today's. 2 games against Milwaukee and then 3 against the Cubs.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think the way they're playing, for Brewers, I think it's going to be a really close series. Like, I mean, I'd like to say they get 2 out of the 3. With the Cubs, the way they're playing right now, I want to say they get all 3 because they're at home.
Yeah.
But again, the Cubs are playing Pittsburgh, and if they right it a little bit, I mean, honestly, if you come out of both series 500, I'm happy.
Yeah.
But as long as you can capture, let's say, if you go 2 out of 3, so you get the 4-2 mark, that's excelling for me in this. And that's probably where, right now, with the way both teams are playing, I'd say that's where I would hang my hat. And if I was going to bet, I'm going to bet a 4-2. Because the Cardinals have this way about them of when they've gone through some tough stretches, they rebound pretty well. Yeah. And right now, I mean, obviously they won 1 against they split with the Reds in 2 games. They lost the series to the Pirates. So they're coming off that series loss. I think they want to prove something against the Brewers here. So they tend to play well in Milwaukee as well. So I want to see them take 2 here and 2 against the Cubs.
I was going to say 4-2 as well, but I think it's a sweep with the Cubs and a series loss against the Brewers. The one thing is, this team, the Cardinals are 16-9 on the road, which is pretty absurd. Milwaukee is 14-9 on the road, 16-11 at home. They're one of the only other teams that have a really good winning record against above 500 teams, but in their head-to-head, the Cardinals outsmart the Brewers. That includes, during this Brewers rise.
Yeah.
That I would say they sweep the Cubs and they win against the Brewers, so it ends up being 4-2. I only say that against the Cubs because of the way that they're playing now. It looks like, man. But when a team loses for that long, they are somewhere where they're going to turn it around. Like, you don't lose 20 games in a row. Not that that's where they're at, but
right. Well, and I will say, like, that's to the Cubs' benefit. You're going against a rival, and they know it, and you're going into their place. And so, like, when you've been just getting beat up and you're losing in the manner and the way they're losing, like, you're going to be mad and angry. And so, like, that's why I say that series is going to be fun regardless. I mean, now I want the Cardinals to go in and, like, let's be 15-0 all 3 games. I'm completely happy with that.
Right, yeah. That would be amazing. The Brewers have lost their last 2, so you never know.
Right.
But anyway, I am Tim Elberg. That's Brian. We're going to wrap it up. We thank you guys so much for listening on this Memorial Day weekend. Really appreciate it. Hope you guys enjoy your time out with your family, with your friends. Just remember those families that have lost and had sacrifices made for us. Enjoy baseball, enjoy the weather, and we will see you guys next week.